Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars. It is April 29th, 1996, and we are going to throw you a fastball tonight. We're going to start with WWF because for some reason that's how I did it in my notes. I don't care. With me, as always, is Joseph. Joseph, how are you? Are you excited about this change of events? Are you furiously trying to find your notes on WWF because we always start WCW and I decided to do it different today?
I am livid. That being said, let's talk about some quick bits, Scott.
Give me your quick bits. Give me your quick bitties.
Jesus Christ. Oh, man. I don't know. Have we talked about the fact that we got a new Patreon member in Ronnie Schmidt?
We always talking about Ronnie Schmidt.
But did we talk about that he's a Patreon member? Did we talk
I think
about
we
that?
did.
Okay,
I think we did.
well, anyway, we still love you, Ronnie.
Tell him again.
Rhea Ripley got hurt, had to vacate her title, and the internet lost their shit, and they compared it to Seth Rollins, and they said, you didn't make Seth Rollins vacate his title. Well, that's because Seth Rollins was going to be ready much sooner, and they couldn't rewrite WrestleMania again after CM Punk got hurt. That's not the same situation.
Did Rhea lose her smile?
She did not lose her smile. It was a freak accident. People were trying to say Liv Morgan is not a safe worker. They're idiots. Liv Morgan's fantastic. There are Uncle Howdy teases. Uncle Howdy is the formerly known as Bo Dallas, also known as, I think, Taylor Rotunda is his name, and he is the brother of Bray Wyatt. They came out with this Bray Wyatt documentary recently. Incredible documentary. I strongly suggest you watch it. There is a scene, I will let you know, where they detail the final moments of Bray Wyatt's life. Heartbreaking. It is not an easy watch. But at the very end of the documentary, they do a crazy Bray Wyatt-esque thing. There's a snippet of Uncle Howdy. So they did that to tease that Bo Dallas is coming back. Since then, Eric Rowan is not taking bookings in indie promotions. So there's speculation that he has signed with WWE. Tony Khan says AEW and WWE hate each other, and it's good for business. There's no real AEW news besides that, except for they did show the footage, CM Punk footage, and it kind of blew up in their faces, and the internet shit all over them. They had decent ratings for that, and the next week their ratings fell completely off. Tama Tonga debuted in WWE, joined whatever the new bloodline is. We don't really know. There's this eerie thing going on between Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman, which I think is cool. I think you have to evolve and you have to move things into different directions. I think one of the big problems with the NWO, and I'm not comparing the bloodline to the NWO, is fucking relax. At a certain point, you can't get any further with that lineup. So the best thing to do is, if you're going to continue it, change who the leader is, shuffle the lineup, and then do something new. And that works if you do it well. Trips so far is firing on all cylinders when it comes to their weekly shows. They've been doing a really good job since WrestleMania. WrestleMania was obviously amazing, and all of the shows since then have been amazing. And then Chad Gable, Scott, I don't think you really know who Chad Gable is. Am I correct in that?
Love Chad Gable. Big fan. I have no idea.
Well, this might interest you. So Chad Gable, for years, he has always reminded everybody of Kurt Angle. Not just because an amateur wrestler dude. They look similar. They speak in a similar fashion. They're both able to do serious and comedy. They're both incredible in the ring. And I know Scott loves Kurt Angle. He loves him some Kurt Angle. And he talks every week. Oh, you know the time that Kurt Angle turned heel, how legendary it was? He talks about it. Well, Chad Gable turned heel, and people are already calling it the new coming of Kurt Angle. So we'll see how that goes.
Can I just say something?
Sure, go for it.
I'm just going to say something I probably haven't said before, but I think it's important. Kurt Angle has a heel turn that is just phenomenal. It's one of the greatest heel turns of all time, and I can't wait to get there.
I can't either, dude. I can't wait to talk about that with you.
I don't think people know that. I don't think I've ever said it. Also, something you didn't mention, but we haven't talked about it. I'm surprised we actually haven't talked about it. Is that Cody did win the title and we did not riot.
I was getting to that because
oh my god, you have every note. You have all the notes.
One of the things that I was upset about here, and I've got it in my notes, Cody Crybaby shirts still aren't a thing. I feel like WWE really missed the ball on that one.
I would buy a Cody Crybaby shirt. We are Cody Crybabies.
100%. WWE has a kind of a new production style that is a big talk of the town. And they've shown multiple very interesting shots. The shot where actually Rhea Ripley got hurt, they showed her getting hurt, and the cameraman turned immediately, and it was down a tunnel, and he walks down the tunnel, and it goes out to the stands, and he walks through the stands all the way to the ring. And it was a really cool one shot, no switching the takes, just one shot transition into the next match. They did a really cool one with Sami Zayn where Jimmy Uso's match had just finished. He goes out and he's like hyped up, and Sami Zayn is outside of the stadium, and him and Sami Zayn, they exchange some words. Sami Zayn gets hyped. He goes into the stadium and he's running down where all the concessions are out to a tunnel, and it follows him down the stairs. And in a like 4-minute shot of him going down the stairs, and they're in his hometown and he's getting a hero's welcome, there's maybe 15 transitions. Somebody else posted a shot that was like 38 seconds and it had like 22 transitions in it. That was the old WWE. It's been very good for them. It's been very interesting, which brings us to our final note, which is that Vince McMahon actually sold all of his remaining stock in TKO. So he is no longer affiliated with WWE in any sort of way. And I think, fuck that guy, bye.
Bro, he still got money. He still got tons of money.
Yeah, he's fine.
He could sue us. Allegedly. Allegedly fuck that guy. Also,
or unfuck him, whatever. I don't know.
What?
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 Listen, man, let's not talk about Vince McMahon and fucking too much. He'll shit on our heads. Anyways, gang.
I think we gotta cut this one. We gotta cut this one early here. Bye, everybody. Dun, 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 dun.
Our music has changed.
I just whatever I come up with. I don't know, man.
You should do that. You should
that.
just start recording our intros like that and our
You think
outros.
so?
Yeah.
People would like that? Yeah, no, that'd be really good. That'd be really good. You know what else would be really good?
What's that, Scott?
If we talked about what we're actually here to talk about.
Well, quick bits are over.
Quick bits are over. That's the end of that segment. We should have some kind of like thing that ends the segment, some kind of music or something. I don't know. I'll work on it.
I'll condense the 10 minutes into like 5, so it'll be nice and smooth. It'll work.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here. He's going to condense that 10 minutes into 5. Let's see if he does it. We'll hold him accountable. Don't cut it. Don't cut that. People expect to see it. We want to see reality.
I mean, but I am in control, so I can cut the whole thing. So.
Oh my God. You got to give people what they want, though.
We do.
And what the people want, Joseph, is Mankind shoving his hand in Bart Gunn's mouth.
His bloody hand.
Yeah. And boy, do we get it. Because we are, I was going to say live. We're never live. It's WWF. It's taped from Sioux City, Iowa, the Civic Auditorium, April 29th, 1996. First match of the night is Mankind and Bart Gunn. I should say, though, Joseph, I shouldn't start there. You know, I'm wrong. I shouldn't start there because I got to start with what happened last night at the pay-per-view because it's big and I know you want to talk about it. We start with a clip from last night's show. British Bulldog and Shawn Michaels. Apparently, Shawn is trying to sleep with the Bulldog's wife, Diana, because Diesel's gone, so we need a new rival for Shawn. And I guess it's going to be the British Bulldog. And I guess it's going to be like this. Are you excited?
There is a much larger segment involving this in a few segments. I'll talk about it then, Scott.
All right, then. Let's get into Bart Gunn and Mankind.
I'm gonna keep pushing it until I just don't ever talk about it. Like next week, there's a really big segment. We'll talk about it then. I'm just kidding. If you listen to the pay-per-view, I pushed it off the pay-per-view, so I didn't have to talk about it then. I said I would talk about it today. I'm gonna keep doing that until
we could do that because it goes for about 30 years. So you could keep pushing it. This segment because they're gonna keep doing it. But anyways, Bart gets mandible clawed. I liked it. I like Mankind. Poor Bart Gunn, though. Dude has gone from tag team champions to just a jobber. It is what it is. That's the business. Joseph, what did you make of this match?
Well, how long did you say the match was? Because I feel like this is a pretty long match.
I actually have a time on this one. I don't have a time on this. Let me see if I can find it for you. You know, here it is. Pretty long. That's how long it was.
Wow, I was spot on that assessment.
Yeah, great job.
Bart Gunn isn't really jobbing so much as he's actually having a real match. I appreciated this match. I gave it a B. Bart Gunn gets legitimate offense in, and honestly, that makes for a fun start to Raw. Mankind's hand gets busted open at some point during the match. I don't know when it happens, and he is bleeding all over Bart Gunn. So it makes it even more gross when he hits the mandible claw later on. But I was thoroughly surprised by this match. It was a very fun match. like I said, Bart Gunn really gets to shine. And this is because I believe at this time Billy is hurt. I think he like injured his neck or something. And so he is out. So they don't get to do their tag teams. They were kind of one of the few legitimate tag teams on the show. They don't get to work that way, but they're giving Bart this opportunity against Mankind. I think Bart does a really good job. From this to the kind of post-match bit that we'll get to in a second, I gave this a B. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a good opening to Raw.
As you mentioned, yeah, after the match, JR talks to Bart, and Bart tells him that this mandible claw thing, it's crazy. He was paralyzed by the hold. It was like nothing he's ever felt before. Well, I mean, I imagine it's probably true because how often does he get a dude's fist shoved down his throat? I mean, granted, Bart, you do what you want to do, man. No judgment. But how often does that happen? And for Bart, it happens twice because he gets it done because Mankind shows up and does it to him again.
Twice that day.
Yeah, twice that day. So apparently, I take it back. Apparently, it does happen quite a bit.
He said it's like nothing I ever felt before, and then he got a taste for it, and then he kept feeling it.
Yeah, it turns out then Bart's just backstage like, no, I want to wrestle that guy again. Just every time it's like
That's when the craving sets in. You'll come
every
crawling
night he's
back
like,
for sweet candy.
that's a Futurama reference. If you guys don't know it. We make references here because I feel like Ronnie's probably seen Futurama. I feel like that, but we do have an international.
Like, shut up, baby! I know it.
Oh, I feel like we do have an international clientele, and sometimes we make very American references. So I feel like I should highlight them.
Yeah.
Say
Speaking of which, we have like 15% of our listeners are from the UK. Who are you people?
We love you.
We know who our 5% from Germany is. We know about Ronnie and the Ronnie clique. We know about that. Who are these unnamed British people that we want to be friends with?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Top of the morning to you. Next week, 0.
That was horrible.
Love fish and chips. Love you guys. Anyways, on that note, now that I've single-handedly ended our British listening audience, let's move on. Because up next, we got Scott Taylor, love me some Scott Taylor, versus Steve Austin. Think you've heard of him. With Ted DiBiase. Of note, Savio Vega is here to do some commentary. We're doing some commentary, and he's telling us about the Caribbean strap match and how he wants Austin at In Your House in a Caribbean strap match. This match is really just so Savio Vega can sell us on this Caribbean strap match. Steve Austin wins, hits him with the $1 million dream. Post match, Vega tells Austin he wants him in this Caribbean strap match. Austin DiBiase say, hell no. And then Savio Vega beats his ass with the strap. What do you think about this, Joseph? I kind of liked it.
I gave it a C. I didn't dislike it. I didn't really like it. Savio Vega, like you said, it comes out. He mentions the Caribbean strap match. I think that's interesting, although it's just a strap match, same as any other strap match. But the real thing to talk about here is Scott Taylor, who is too cool. In fact, he's almost too haughty. Do you know what I mean, Scott?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, anyways, this match should have ended with Vega costing.
Yes, I do. I get exactly what you're saying.
In my opinion, this match should have ended with Vega costing Austin the match, so he can make fun of him for losing to a jobber for the next few weeks. That's how I would have done it. The match itself really didn't do a lot. The thing I really don't like about the match more than anything isn't really what's going on in the ring. It's the back and forth between Jerry Lawler and Savio Vega. It's ear grating. Savio Vega is just really not great on commentary, and he's really not great on the mic, and he kind of only says the one thing over and over. And then Jerry Lawler starts taking shots at him, and Savio tries to take shots back, and they just none of them land from either man. They're just
And
really
Jerry's shot a little bit racist.
Yeah, I think he calls him a burrito. I think he calls him that, or I made that up. But hey, whatever.
But it sums it up.
Yeah.
I don't have any. I didn't write any of them down, but I did note that. Jerry a little racist with his commentary to Savio.
Yeah. I think this is a disappointing follow up to the first match. I think this was kind of a step backwards from the Mankind match. I really liked the Mankind match. Didn't really like this as much. Again, I think it's really just because the commentary, the in ring action's fine. Scott Taylor's very good in the ring, sells well. Stone Cold Steve Austin hasn't developed a stunner yet. That hasn't happened yet. So he's still using the $1 million dream. It still doesn't really work. And I believe this is the feud that actually gets Ted DiBiase out of the WWF.
He's not around much longer.
Yeah, it's coming
So yeah,
soon.
we'll see.
I think there's like a whole match where like Savio Vega, if he wins, Ted DiBiase will leave because the feud becomes about Savio Vega and Ted DiBiase in a weird way, where like Ted DiBiase wants Savio Vega to be his driver or something like that, and it's playfully racist as many of Vince McMahon's things are. So hey, there you go.
Yeah, I feel like if you do it right, a heel being kind of playfully racist works because he's a heel, but you got to do it right.
JBL.
So we'll see.
JBL versus Eddie Guerrero. I will defend. I mean, I haven't watched that since I was a kid, but I loved his heel work. He was the absolute piece of shit Republican who, you know, all the Mexicans are stealing our jobs, blah blah blah, and he ran with that. And Eddie Guerrero was the perfect foil for that, and I loved it.
I lost us the English demographic. You just lost us the Republican demographic. God, this podcast is crashing and burning.
Now let's make fun of the liberals.
Yeah, let's just hit everybody while we're
Yeah.
at it. But yeah, I think if done right, it can be good, and we'll see if it's done right.
Scott, I believe
Probably
the
not.
phrase is "If do right, no can defend."
That's true. That's a really great point.
You know what else no can defend?
Tell me.
This next fucking segment.
What a segue. Let's talk about it, because here we go. We got Bulldog, we got Diana Bulldog, we got Jim Cornette, and they want to talk about Shawn Michaels trying to get with Diana. Apparently, the story is that Diana received a note that she was supposed to meet Jim Cornette backstage at the pay-per-view last night. She goes only to find Shawn Michaels waiting for her, and he's got some nada things to say. Shawn comes out, says it's all bullshit. They go back and forth. Diana says that she knows he wants her. Shawn says, no, don't flatter yourself. He gets slapped. Shawn makes a comment about he knows who wears the pants in that family, and Bulldog, who is not wearing pants, goes after him. Fight ensues. It's a whole thing, Joseph. And I know this is your favorite rivalry of 1996. So why don't you tell us more about it?
Got a fucking F. It's horrible. I hate this. I hate the storyline. I've been dreading talking about it. So we've mentioned this before. We're way ahead in our watch through, me and Scott. And when we were watching this, we were like, is this really happening? And unfortunately it is. How do you go from what I thought was a cool rivalry? I think there was some missed opportunities in the booking between Shawn Michaels and Diesel, but they had a wonderful main event last night that we talked about on our podcast yesterday. So please subscribe to our Patreon, $2 a month, and you can listen to it. It's a fantastic match, and in my opinion, it made Shawn Michaels an even hotter figure for them. And you go right into this storyline. And I mean, it must work because they do pretty well in the ratings for a few weeks. I don't know why people are thinking this is interesting. It's an atrocious feud with a horrible subject in adultery and all the different variables of that. And it doesn't work. And it's very like, this is a very kind of Vince McMahon kind of story. I'm not saying he's the one who pitched it, but this is also the same guy who pitched that he wanted to have an incestuous relationship on screen with his daughter. So who's to say this shit shouldn't be happening? Bulldog has so many reasons to want the championship, right? It's the one title that's evaded him his entire career. They've talked about it. He's won the tag team championship. He's won the Intercontinental Championship. He's never been able to capture the WWF Championship. That is storyline enough. And on top of that, the person who holds it stole it, in his eyes, from his brother-in-law. It's almost like it's too easy to write this fucking storyline when it comes to Shawn Michaels and a specific heart family or foundation. And they
Big.
keep fucking it up, Scott.
Yeah, this is not good.
One more thing.
Go ahead. You shoot your shot.
Thing. NWO is right around the corner. We are weeks away from this. Okay. We're not like, we've been teasing it for a few months now. We are weeks away within the month. And you have the WWF champion in this storyline. And a lot of people will talk about how Shawn Michaels, couldn't elevate WWF during his title reign and blah, blah, blah. And they'll compare it to Bret Hart's reign the year before. Bret Hart wasn't going against the NWO. And Bret Hart's reign was also bad, which Bret Hart has talked about. I'm not just making that up. It was a bad reign. It was booked horribly. And he was not going against the NWO. WCW will have the NWO in a few weeks, and they are going to go on a fucking tear from storyline standpoint to in-ring action to everything. They were firing on all cylinders. And you're making storylines like this for your main champion and wondering why you're going to get the shit kicked out of you in the ratings. It makes no sense to me.
Tell me how you really feel.
Pretty good now that I got that out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't say it more. I can't say more than you said. I can't say it better than you said. We don't like this. This goes on way too long. This goes on for months. They won't drop this thing. And it's bad. It's bad now. It's bad then. It's bad always. Diana really isn't cut out. I mean, she's a pretty lady, but she's not cut out for this.
Mhm.
She clearly doesn't know what to do, doesn't want to. I feel like she doesn't want to be there because she just never seems real into it. She's always kind of got a stern look on her face.
Yeah, Vince clearly has something for her, like he's into her, just like he is with Sable, because he wants her on screen. He wants her on TV. Somehow this keeps happening, and she doesn't seem comfortable at any point doing any of it. Not just this storyline. She'll be on TV for a while after this storyline too, and she always has this look of like, what am I doing here? I don't think she ever wanted to be in this situation. It just is what it is. Like you said, she's a very pretty woman. I'm sure she's a lovely woman. I don't know anything about her, but like she just kind of gets thrown into these situations and Vince won't let it go.
Yep, but I'm going to let it go because we're going to move on to our tag team match. The New Rockers versus the Godwins. We got Martin Jannetty and Leaf Alfred Snow Cassidy versus
You had me at Martin Jannetty. That was great.
I do, I like to do their Christian names. I like to do their full Christian names. Versus Henry Godwin and Phineas Godwin. Those are their good Christian names already. With Hillbilly Jim. This match ends in a double count out. Nobody wins. Sunny's here. She distracts everybody with her rare beauty. She doesn't care who wins the titles, because the Body Donnas are gonna beat them or whatever. I don't know. This is really kind of more a vehicle for Sunny. This match, like I said, ends in a double count out. What did you think of this one, Joseph?
I gave it an F. I hated it. Didn't like it. Didn't enjoy it. Thought it was bad. WWF's tag team division sucks. It just does. It's bad. It's a bad tag team division, and especially when you compare it to WCW's at this time. WCW has so many good tag teams, and even tag teams don't really have like a mid card. There's really just the tag team championship, and that's kind of it. That's the way it's always been with tag teams. But if you had a mid card in tag teams, WCW has an excellent mid card. When you think about like American Males, even Public Enemy, who I'm not a fan of, but the crowd loves, the Nasty Boys, same situation. Harlem Heat's kind of the upper echelon of that going into the main event of the, tag team championships. And on top of that, they've got, Steiner Brothers and the Road Warriors and this great, version of Sting and Luger. And it's like they're firing on all cylinders with that stuff. WWF's tag team division is fucking god awful at this point. It's so bad. And we are starting to get some bright stars when it comes to their singles division, especially in the mid card, right? We just got Stone Cold Steve Austin a few months ago. We just got Mankind, I think, within the last month. Yeah, last month, because it was right after WrestleMania. So we're getting some really bright stars, and we're starting to head into a really good direction for that. But the tag team division is going to suffer for a few years, and to me, this is an all-time low. I just didn't enjoy this. Going from the last segment that I obviously hated to this, and then it ends in a double countout. So neither team gets elevated by anything that's going on. Like you said, it's a vehicle for Sunny, so it's more about her than it is about any of your tag teams. Eesh, just a bad situation all around.
You're absolutely right about the tag team division. I mean, I think it says something. It goes to show that the best tag team right now, I think, in the WWF is a tag team comprised of two singles competitors who are tag teaming. British Bulldog, Owen Hart. Because I don't really consider them a tag team, right? I consider them singles competitors who are doing tag team matches right now. But of their actual tag teams, like who do they have? They have the Godwins, they have the Body Donnas. I guess they have the New Rockers now. If you want to consider them a tag team, it's just it's Frederick Marty Jannetty. I looked up his real name. His real name is Frederick.
That's hilarious.
And yeah, and Leaf Cassidy, which I think they've just kind of been thrown together. They don't really have a tag team division. They only have like really two true tag teams, and then just guys they throw together when the time is right. And you know, Joseph, that I like tag teams.
I've heard. Yeah, there's a
So
rumor going around.
this is hurtful to me. And and I'm just thinking about how on this same night we had Lex and I'm spoiling the card. I'm gonna be Eric Bischoff and spoil the WCW card. We got Lex and Sting versus the Harlem Heat. We got the Steiner Brothers versus Fire and Ice. Oh, we got some tag teams coming up. So for WWF to do this to me, I'm upset. I'm so mad that I'm gonna move on because I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to go to the boiler room because JR is in the boiler room with Mankind. Mankind offers to show JR the mandible claw, which Bart Gunn bursts in and says, "Hit me with it again! Hit me with it!" No, and that doesn't happen.
That would be so stupid and good.
Hit me again! Give it to me! I gotta have it. No, that doesn't happen. He does offer to demonstrate it on JR. JR politely declines, and then Mankind goes into this crazy segment about knowing every pressure point in the human body because he experimented as a child, and the under the tongue is the most sensitive place ever, and he gonna destroy Undertaker. It was good, man. I liked it. This Mick Foley guy, I think he's got some staying power. What do you think?
Yeah, you got an A for me. Mankind's a fucking gem every time. Mick Foley is committed to this role, and he's killing it with these dark promos. If for some reason you didn't grow up with Mick Foley, but the Mick Foley I kind of grew up with was a few years after this, but if you didn't grow up with Mick Foley and get to experience him, I don't think Bray Wyatt is possible without Mick Foley. A lot of people will say, Undertaker, created Bray Wyatt. I really think it's more Mick Foley created Bray Wyatt, like that idea, because and there's many people, right? There's Taker, there's Waylon Mercy, there's a number of people, obviously. But the ability to completely reinvent characters and take new angles from goofy to sad to angry to, horrific and do all these different things doesn't really happen in wrestling unless there is a Mick Foley. Because Mick Foley before this was Cactus Jack. And Cactus Jack for a time was essentially kind of based on Charles Manson. That wasn't Mick Foley's initial idea with Cactus Jack, but it was something that kind of got thrown onto him. And so he kind of had that, but he really wasn't this horror gimmick until he became Mankind and he threw himself into this role. And this is one of the few things that, if Mankind is on each week, you at least know you're going to get something that is good on Raw. And he's just doing it again. It's a great promo. Like you said, all the different pressure points and having tested them on himself, it's kind of Hellraiser-ish. And it's a really interesting idea. And this is the one he thinks hurts the most. That's why it's his finisher. He even mentions one like along the eyeball. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude. like what is going on? And, he's just so fucking good. He's great. Every time he's great. It's another A.
Yeah, and you talk about, him leaning into these horror characters, and man, his next character is the most horrific of them all.
Is it Dude Love?
Yeah,
That's the
Dude.
next one.
I actually enjoyed Dude Love. No
Oh, yeah.
knock on Dude Love.
No.
Yeah, I'm making a joke. I know. Actually, I looked it up, and we actually get some Dude Love, I think, in 1997. So it's coming.
There you go.
Yeah, the Faces of Foley, man. They're coming out.
Love them.
I was trying to think of a segue.
And then you just realize what it is, and you're just disappointed.
Yeah, I was going to talk about like the Faces of Horror. And my face of horror when I saw the next item on the card.
I like
but
that.
Then I was just, but then I was just like, you know what? Screw it. It's the Ultimate Warrior and Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what we're doing. This is the main event. Joseph, this is the main event.
Yeah, it's the worst, right? I gave this an F. There's nothing to talk about. It's not good. It's not exciting. It's not interesting. It's a straightforward Warrior gassed up out of his mind, freaking simple match that just obviously he wins, and it's bad. It's bad. This is the third F of this show, and this might be the worst Raw that we have graded so far.
We do get mention of Warrior University, which is very exciting, which I don't think goes anywhere. I guess that was part of the deal, right? Warrior came back and he was getting like a training school. He was going to train new wrestlers, and it was called Warrior University, and you could sign up for it and all that kind of stuff. And he's only with WWF for about 6 minutes, so I don't think that ever comes to fruition. But Vince talks about it. Yeah. And then there's the squash match. Ultimate Warrior defeats Isaac Yankem DDS, flying shoulder block, splash. No sells a bunch of shit because he's Ultimate Warrior. It's over. And that ends the show. That's how we end the show. In hindsight, I'm glad that I did WWF first because this is kind of a downer.
Yeah, it's real bad.
We need a palate cleanse.
We do.
And you know what, Joseph? We've got one because we are live with WCW Nitro. I actually don't think we're live. I think I read that this one was taped because everyone was in Japan. Might be the next one. Whatever. We're live. I don't care. Albany Civic Center in Albany, Georgia. That we're actually in Albany, Georgia this time. Like I mean, I usually make that joke. You think we're in Albany, New York, and I say some other random place. No, we're not in Albany, New York. We are in Albany, Georgia at the Albany Civic Center. The first match, which is, as I've already told you, Lex and Sting versus the Harlem Heat for the WCW World Tag Team Championship, baby. And I like Lex. I like Goofy Lex. We got Goofy Lex. I like Sting. We got the Harlem Heat. I like all of them, Joseph. This is already starting off better. What'd you make of this one? 10 minutes, 45 seconds.
Gave it a B+. It is a really fun match. It might have a record for the quickest I've ever been reminded that late 90s and early 2000s sunglasses are the best. So there you go. Sting's gear at this point does start to get a little bit lazy. I had mentioned last week he's got the rainbow gear for the first time, and he kind of will wear this and just variations of this for until Crow Sting. And here we are. He's doing the exact same gear, except for this time he's got blue face paint and blue boots, but the tights are the exact same. So it gets a B. It's whatever. But this is great tag team action. It's a lot of fun. There's a moment where Booker T combos a spinneroonie, which they're not calling it that yet, into a jumping sidekick, and it was fucking sick. It was so well done. And it's just like, God, sometimes I forget how good Booker T is or was, and I'm just like, damn, this guy. I've always been a big Booker T fan, and I really, really, really wish, on a separate note involving Sting and Luger, do you remember a few months ago even, because they've been together for months now, that Luger was calling them the tag team of the 90s?
I think so. Yeah, I think I remember that.
I really wish WCW had ran with that. I really wish that was their tag team name. It wasn't Sting and Lex Luger. It was the tag team of the 90s, Sting and Lex Luger, and that they would have shirts and stuff, because that's such a cool idea. And they've been doing this for so long now with these two. I really think you could have made it a real thing, because for pretty much all of 96, this has been a tag team. And so it would have been an interesting idea to keep going with it. And they're going to go for quite a few more weeks, seemingly. And I thought it would have been cool. But oh well, it's a good tag team match. Like, I think you mentioned that Luger and Sting win. They have to. This is just, they're the tag team champions. They gotta keep this going. I think they're still trying to book, was it Road Warriors? I don't know. I don't even know if they have really a feud right now, but we'll eventually kind of figure out what's going on with that. I just liked the match. I thought it was a lot of fun. It doesn't get an A because there is no storyline going into this, and that's really the only thing that held it back from an A. But overall, it's a very, very fun start to WCW.
En contraire, mes amis. I don't know why I know that. I took 6 years of Spanish. There actually is a storyline, which you don't know about because we tell stories on Saturday night.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy Hart cheated on Saturday night. There was a Lex and Sting Harlem Heat match on Saturday night. And Jimmy did some cheating, and so this is a rematch because Jerry, or I don't know why I keep saying Jerry because I hate Jerry. Jimmy, who I also kind of hate. I don't actually hate Jimmy. You hate Jimmy. I don't hate Jimmy.
I don't know. I've kind of dug Jimmy with Goofy Lex. He's been turning it around for me. So
if they're both, yeah, Jimmy's good when he's goofy with Lex. We like it. But this was a rematch because of that cheating, and Jimmy tries to cheat again, and so I don't really know why. Again, this is one of those things where, right, like they do these rematches, and they've done this a couple of times on WWF's done it too, where there was some cheating incident, so we got to do the rematch, but then they cheat to win again. And it's like, is this like Groundhog's Day? Are we just going to keep redoing this match until you don't cheat to win? Like, I don't understand. But no, they just like, okay, this cheating was fine though. It's okay. What's even more okay though, Joseph? What a segue that was. What a shit segue.
Yeah, that's one of your worst ones.
Worst ones ever. Rick and Scott Steiner, the Steiner brothers versus Fire and Ice. I'm excited. Are you excited?
I am hyped. To me, this is one of the most underrated tag teams in the 90s. You know, obviously people didn't join us for our watch along, but I loved Fire and Ice. I was so happy when they were together. They're together for 96 and into 97. And then I think they finally split up at some point in 97. But they're a lot of fun. I obviously, I've mentioned a lot about Scott Norton, about how much I enjoy him. And now we're getting Ice Train. This is the first time I think we're seeing him. And or at least seeing them together for sure. And I loved Ice Train. Ice Train, unfortunately, did recently pass away. We posted about it on Twitter. We also posted kind of how much we appreciate him and couldn't really wait to talk about this particular tag team. So finally, we're able to do that. First off, obviously, rest in peace, Ice Train. But
R.I.P., bro.
but
R.I.P.
we love this tag team so much, and they will unfortunately never really become what, in my opinion, and I think yours too, what they should have. They never become champions. I think this is a huge misstep on Eric Bischoff's part, never really elevating them. I don't know what the reason was. I've never, I don't think he's ever talked about it that I'm aware of, but it just never really happens. That being said, this match gets an A for me. I will give A's, even though there's no storyline, if we have a debut. That consists here with Fire and Ice. I love Fire and Ice. That's what gets in the A. But it is 4 meaty men slapping meat. And it's great. It's fantastic. It is another really fun match back to back. Both tag team matches. We talked about with the WWF how bad the tag team division is. And WCW's tag team division only gets even stronger with the addition of Fire and Ice for the first time. And it's great. What a fantastic way to show them off. It's a fun match. It's a really cool way to display what Fire and Ice is kind of about.
Yeah, we love these guys. We love the Steiner Bros. We love Fire and Ice. So this is great. This is good fun. As you said, 4 big sweaty men slapping meat, which checks all our boxes. We're all about it. But yeah, Fire and Ice is really, really one of our regrets because we really like them. They're fun. 2 just big dudes, but they do tag team moves. They work together. They're fun to watch. I really wish Ice Train and Scott Norton, they'd kept them together. Scott Norton joins the NWO and they break up and all that. Like, I don't know why you had to do it. I feel like Ice Train and Scott Norton could have just joined the NWO together and been one of their tag teams, right? Like, I think that would have been fine with me. I'm cool with that.
Dude, Fire and Ice in the NWO would have been sick.
Right?
Like
Right?
them with the NWO. Because here's what you do, right? All right, hear me out. Fire's NWO logo is like red and orange, and Ice's is white and blue.
Mm,
Oh, so good.
Eric, come on the show. We got questions for you.
We got
some
questions.
tough
We got Country Time
questions.
Lemonade.
We do. Yeah, I did notice that you keep on Twitter, you keep adding Eric, trying to get him on the show. He probably listened to the one where I did that high pitched voice for him, and he's like, "Fuck you guys, I'm not calling your show."
Yeah,
Eric, we love you.
but get over yourself. We got Country Time Lemonade, man.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, yeah, we make fun of Eric sometimes when we think he's wrong, but also I think we've said numerous times we think Eric Bischoff is a net positive for wrestling.
Correct.
One of the most important guys in the game. Changed a lot of stuff for the better through WCW and competing with WWF, and the industry is forever better because of him. And then he made some bad decisions, which we talk about too. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. Yeah.
No one bats 1,000 in booking. It'll never happen. And
Yeah.
it's weird because people seem to want to focus on the 7 out of 10 times he missed and not the 3 out of 10 times that he fucking crushed it and got to the Hall of Fame. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that makes no fucking sense to me. Like, this dude really did a lot of great things. Yeah, you can talk about the negatives. And guess what? If you listen to his podcast, he's pretty open about them. There's been times on his podcast where, And we really listen to like his podcast and like the I'll listen to the one with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson. I can't remember what it's called for some reason. But I'll listen to their podcast, not really because like I'm a huge fan of the podcast, but because I'm doing research. You know, I want to know
Yep.
what they have to say about things. And it's really funny because there's moments where Bischoff, like Conrad Thompson will go, I just find it weird that, and then he'll just tell him like a horrible storyline, and then Bischoff will just go, "Yeah, that sucked. It was bad. We probably shouldn't have done that." And it's just like, yeah, good. Like it's fine. You don't have to be like, well, you know, it really was this person's fault. For the most part, he's just pretty honest. Yeah, it was bad. It was a bad idea, and we shouldn't have done it. What do you want from me?
Hit, putting together Fire and Ice. Miss, breaking up Fire and Ice.
Yeah, there you go. And we'd ask him the same. We'd get him on the show, and we just go, now, why would you break up Fire and Ice? And then he'd go, yeah, that was bad. Or he'd
He'd say,
I don't know.
first of all, why did you say that in that Southern accent when you haven't been speaking in a Southern accent up to that point? Secondly, here's my response. Yeah.
And then I'd open up a can and go, roll tide,
Country time.
country time.
You better believe it, man. I think they do have cans. I should get cans at Country Time. And crack 'em. Anyways, we're running kind of long here, but you'll cut it all in post. But anyways, let's get to the next segment because it's my boy, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, with Mean Gene. I'm back, baby. I'm back.
Yeah, it's been
And
a
he's
minute.
got, yeah, I did it. And he's back with the ladies of Space Mountain. And they're talking about the Nature Boy's match against the Giant tonight for the title. Is Nature Boy worried? Nah. Nature Boy ain't worried. He's styling, profiling. He's got it all. Now, honestly, not one of his best promos. Wasn't as absurd as I wanted it to be, but it's a Ric Flair promo, so I'm good with it. What'd you think?
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't one of his best ones. Got a B for me. It's fine. It's fine and it does the job. I also thought it was very interesting. So, Woman has been with him for a while now, and obviously Miss Elizabeth just joined. They've got the whole Macho Man storyline and everything. But they've been trying to figure out what to do with Miss Elizabeth, like visually, and they nailed it this week because Woman will often wear black, and Woman kind of has that, you know, dark seductress kind of vibe, and it works really well for her. But Miss Elizabeth, her entire career has been the, you know, the woman that you take home to meet the parents. That's the that's the vibe she's always had. So the dark thing doesn't really work for her. So this time they've got her in black, like a leather top and leather shorts, which doesn't work for her, but they have an all golds leather jacket on top of that. And it's a phenomenal look for Miss Elizabeth. And I'm like, okay, that kind of works. That start because she's a vibrant person. She's very colorful. She's always been that way. So lean into that and just let her be a heel with that. Don't try to force her into the woman kind of look, which they were trying to do for a few weeks. And I think they finally realized we got to get away from it. Cause I think next week she's in like all red or something like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. You're starting to figure it out. Cause it's just been awkward seeing her as this heel. And it's like, no, woman's got that part covered. You be your own thing. And so they're starting to make it work. But like you said, not Flair's best promo. Got to be is fine. And it just kind of moves on to the next thing.
And the next thing is Glacier. And he's coming to the WCW soon or in like 7 years because
Yeah.
this is the longest hype for a guy we've ever seen. It goes on forever. And I actually really liked Glacier as a kid, but watching them hype him, I'll have to look it up again. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's some issue. He was supposed to come sooner than he did. There was some issue. I think, I know why. The NWO happens. I remember now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were going to bring him in. Then the NWO came in and just caught absolute fire.
And it was this thing of realism. So where do you fit this very, very cartoony Mortal Kombat character into this realism?
So they pushed it back and they pushed it back and they pushed it back. And I swear, it's like they hype him for like 6-7 months. It's crazy. To the point where by the time he gets to WCW, like it's a letdown. Like they've hyped him way too much. And he just doesn't get over. I enjoyed him as a kid. I liked the kung fu stuff or whatever, but it didn't really work, which is unfortunate that he just got booked poorly. But he's coming at some point. He's coming at a glacial speed. So we'll see it. We'll see it. Up next, though, and I'm excited to talk about this because this is everything I want in life. The Lord Steven Regal versus the Belfast Bruiser in a parking lot brawl. 6 minutes, 13 seconds. Steven Regal ends up winning it, but it's fantastic. I love it. They beat the shit out of each other. Joseph, dude gets pile drived onto the hood of a car. Tell me more.
So the only real complaint I have, there's two complaints. One is that they're in their ring gear, which I love anytime there's like a street fight type match where the wrestlers are always in jeans and like a t-shirt. I love that. It's just kind of tradition. So it's weird that they didn't do that, but that's fine. I do think that it's kind of, again, WCW's got this pattern of like these really crazy matches that should be the like blow off to the feud, but instead it's it's in the middle of the feud, so it doesn't really make sense. So that's fine, whatever. I'm not a fan of that, but I'll deal with it. Overall, though, I can't believe this is only 6 minutes because it's freaking great. Got an A- for me. Finley kicks a car window and it shatters. So presumably CM Punk choked him out afterwards.
A little bit. Just
Yeah,
just a
just a
little bit,
little
though.
bit. By the way, to be clear, I can make that joke because I love CM Punk and Jack Perry is a baby back bitch. So, anyways, this match is fantastic. But something that kept going on in my head when I was watching this. Steven Regal, aka William Regal, has a broken neck at this time that he doesn't know about, and this is a gnarly match. And I'm just like, every time he gets hit, I'm like, ugh. Like I just kind of like, because he didn't know about this broken neck until like 2021. Like that's how insane this thing got. Like it took a
When he
long
like
time.
collapsed in his driveway, like turned
Yeah,
his head the wrong way and collapsed in his driveway.
yeah.
And they
So
were like, "Oh, you would have died."
yeah, so
And he
he's
had this thing for like 20
yeah,
years.
he's just wrestling with it right now. So that he talked about that thing on his podcast. So if you've never heard that story, go listen to it, and you'll be like, "What the fuck?" And then every time you watch any of his old matches from like 91 on, it's just like, dude, what is going on? How is this guy not dead? It's an incredible match. I loved it. You mentioned the pile driver. There is a moment in AEW. It's not shitting on AEW. Trust me. Don't worry about it. But there was a moment where Cody Rhodes was feuding with QT Marshall, and they got on top of a bus, and we kept clamoring for, I think, Cody to hit a power bomb on the bus for QT Marshall, and it never happened. Like they teased it, and it never happened. And so we regularly joke about anytime Cody's in a rivalry, me and Scott will joke about, and then a bus comes out, and then Cody hits the power bomb on whoever he's in the rivalry with on the bus. And it's
Cody travels everywhere by bus. He's got
yeah,
the Nightmare Express.
yeah,
I want someone power bombed through the Nightmare Express, Cody.
yeah. So seeing Steven Regal hit a pile driver, which is far more dangerous than the power bomb, on top of a car, gave me a little bit of vindication. I feel like it's a great match. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Absolutely. This has been a good night. Well, you said this isn't a blow-off match. It kind of is because they have to team up for the Lethal Lottery at Slamboree, which after this match, I don't know if they're gonna work together all that well.
I mentioned that last week. I said, they have this thing. I don't know if they're going to make it to it because of what happens next week, and this is what it is. And I think next week we're actually going to have kind of a further development on that.
Yeah. And we'll see about it. We will see. But now we got to see the main event. The Giant with Jimmy Hart versus the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and the Women of Space Mountain, Miss Elizabeth and the Woman. I was surprised by this one, Joseph. The Giant wins. He defeats Ric Flair. He wins the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. What a match. What a thing. I was surprised. Again, though, tons of respect for Ric Flair. He'll put anyone over, which I really like. Loses the title. Giant wins, becomes the champion. I just wasn't really expecting the Giant to become the champion. It seemed kind of unexpected. I liked the match, though. What do you think?
I really enjoyed the match too. Got a B for me. Flair makes everyone look great, and he makes Giant look great in this match. There's a moment where he knocks out Giant with like I think a foreign object or something like that, and then he hits the figure four on the Giant, and the Giant like awakens and then chokes Ric Flair like in mid figure four, and then picks him up, and then they get out of the figure four, and he's holding him by the neck the whole time, and he turns it into a choke slam. And it's a really cool and creative spot. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have talked about this a number of times. I don't like seeing the title defended every week like this, but they keep doing it, so I'm just gonna have to deal with it. It's also weird that you would switch at a non pay per view. Like I think I'm fine with Giant being champion. You've built him as this unstoppable force forever, so like that's fine. He's a champion. But why on the random Nitro? I don't really get it. It is what it is. Maybe they just didn't want Flair to do double duty at the pay per view because he's already in a tag team match, and they don't want to have to deal with him because they did it last time. Last time, I think he was in like 3 matches to get the title when he was going against Macho. Like I think that was what happened. It was like 3 different matches that he was in, and then he got the title. So it was wild. Maybe they just wanted to give him some rest. I don't know. It's good though. It's a good match. And then there's a post-match segment where the Giant gets interviewed, and I don't understand anything that he says. He sounds like Strong Mad in Homestar Runner. If you ever watched that growing up, he sounds exactly like that, and I have no idea what he said.
No one does.
Yeah.
People are still questioning it to this day.
Yeah, he's just like rah rah rah, and they're just like, okay.
And again, like this is why you have Jimmy Hart.
Yeah.
This is why you have Jimmy Hart. He's supposed to be doing this for you because you don't got it, bro. You ain't got it. That brings us to the end. I mean, that's pretty much the end. You know, we do the Giant promo at the end where we don't understand what's going on, and then it's over. I think I know how this is gonna go, Joseph. But why don't you tell me who won tonight? Who was the better product?
WCW got a B plus. WWF got a D minus. I think I said they were horrible. It was such a bad show. Obviously, WCW won this week.
I agree with you. I think WCW won tonight. But what did the fans think, Joseph? I'll tell you, WCW got a 2.1.
Wow. With maybe because they put the title on so much that fans aren't viewing it, tuning in.
It's losing its sheen.
Yeah,
it's losing its sheen.
WWF got a 2.9 off of that shit show.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So the fans were wrong.
And I'm looking at, and I have the big chart in front of me. So
I know what
I'm
you're looking
ahead
at.
to.
I know what you're looking at.
We're about 3 weeks until Doomsday.
Yeah,
and it's just crazy. It's crazy to me. Like, look at next week. Do you see next week? Do you see the ratings for next week?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's insane.
Well, we'll talk about it. If that isn't a tease, I don't know what is. We'll talk about it next week. WCW won. The fans were wrong. And that does it. I'm Scott. With me, as always, is Joseph. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, guys. Hey everybody, it's Joseph, and guess what? Not only can you listen to us every Monday on Spotify, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Podcasts as well. Just search for Monday Night Wars Podcast. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at MON Night Wars Pod, on Instagram at Monday Night Wars Podcast, or just email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, subscribe to our Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For $2 a month, you get every pay-per-view from WCW and WWF during this era, as well as additional content later on. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you here next time on the Monday Night Wars Podcast.